Hi spooky friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today I am doing a bit of a check-in. It's halfway through the year and I wanted to kind of round out some of my favourite books so far this year. Let's get into it. So the first one is Coupe de Grace. I hope that's how you pronounce this. This book is a really short novella and it really did hook me in straight away. It is like mind-bending horror. So this is following a man who is contemplating his life. He gets on the subway in Montreal and decides he will unalive himself. This is such a literary story. It's one that you really have to read and like pay attention to. It's not, whilst it's a short book, it's not one that you'll read really fast if you want to really take it all in. It's really dark, it's tense. If you are in the right mindset, this book can get really heavy, and if you're not in the right space, then I don't think this book would be for you. But I really loved reading it. Very bleak and a really deep look into the never-ending cycle of this underground station. There's a lot going on despite being a short book and only like a handful of characters. It's not for everybody, I will say that, but I really did love reading this and that's why it's in this list. Next we have a thriller, which is The Cliffhanger by Emily Feud. So I read this when it just came out for its release and I really loved reading it. It was so twisty and it breaks the mold of a typical thriller. So this follows two writers who go off to the south of France for a retreat to write their 9th book, but it's not really what it's made out to be. That's all I'm going to say because there's so much in this story that you need to read for yourself. I loved it because I didn't know who was the protagonist and who was the antagonist. This book sets up its characters that everybody could be the villain, anyone could be the hero. But it's not until the very end of this book where it's all told to you. It is such a unique way of writing. I think this was a really good breath of fresh air for me because thrillers get very stagnant. It's the same formulas over and over again, and this one was very different. I didn't see it coming and I really loved that. I will caveat and say that this book is pretty slow in the beginning. I was worried that I wouldn't enjoy it because of that, but once you get into the meat of the story, it is definitely worth that time you put in the beginning, because everything just adds up and it comes into this heavy conclusion and it's just perfect. So then we have Star of Acre. This book I read very recently and instantly it came on this list because it is very folk heavy. This is following a family who are in the deep pits of grief. They've just lost their son and the mum is going through a whole episode and the dad is doing his work, digging, researching in the moors of their property, and nothing is as it seems. This is such a standout read. I need to watch the movie. Andrew did say that I should because it is pretty good and it's pretty similar. So that's quite good to get that from the author himself. This was so incredibly written and it was so good to follow along with. I really, for me anyway, folk horror is like my favourite genre. Maybe second favourite. I don't know, polar horror is out there for me too. But I really love anything folk based and this is very disturbing and is centered in the ancient moors in England, and there's some creepy characters in here too. So I loved Star of Acre. I thought it was an incredible read. It was very strange and I'd say unsettling as well It is a little short book, but it really does pack a punch in here. So if you haven't read Starve Acre, you're really missing out on something. You need to pick this up. So I'm going to take a quick break from the physical books and talk to you about a few ones that I've read on NetGalley recently that absolutely pushed the bar even higher for NetGalley reads. I read The Forest of Missing Girls. This one is publishing in November of this year, and I think it's December for the UK. But I read this and literally could not stop reading it. I was hooked instantly with this book. We are following a woman who goes back to her hometown, where there's a ton of missing girls that have gone missing over the years. Their house is right on the forest edge, and as children they would go into the forest every so often, and their mum would kind of warn them about the forest and what to do, how to stay safe and that sort of thing. And this has a heavy focus on family dynamic and the overall mystery of the missing girls. I thought it was an incredible way of writing. It's kind of like folk horror meets mystery meets sci-fi. It is such a beautiful blend of genres that I really loved how it was done. There's body horror in here, there's a mystery to be solved, and how everything is written and put together was just immaculate. I really loved it. It was so unsettling. But yeah, it's definitely worth reading. I give it a 5-star. I couldn't stop reading. I got about 30% in and had to just keep continuing reading this book. It was so incredible and I loved my time reading it. And then the other book that I read on NetGalley, and I think this is publishing in September of this year, and that is The Witch of Willow Sound. This is a book that again is another folk story. So with that theme, it's very centered around folk horror, although I would say this is less horror and just more literary. The Witch of Willow Sound is following a young woman whose aunt goes missing. She lives in the forest. She's a proper like cottagecore witch. But the town that she lives in Nova Scotia, they don't see her as a human. She's just the scary witch that lives in the forest. And so they don't take too kind to her disappearance and her home. And so her niece, we're following her perspective a lot of the time, where she is trying to figure out where her aunt is, and she starts to then uncover a lot of things about her family and the local area where this is all taking place in Nova Scotia. I really love the atmosphere that was created in this book. I think that's what really sold it for me. It's not scary, it's not body horror. So I'd say that The Witch of Willow Sound leans more towards the fantastical literary side, but there is like that mystery that is being solved as well. It's a really good read. It's a fast read, and if you really like witchy books and the whole female rage sort of thing, then I think you'd enjoy this book too. I read Notes on an Execution recently, literally just finished it this month, and instantly one of my favorite books of all time. This is incredible. So we're following a made-up serial killer who killed 3 girls. So this is such an interesting way of writing one of these stories. Recently I did read The Quarry Girls, which was kind of similar. We're following the victims' families rather than the serial killer. This is taking a similar approach to The Quarry Girls as well, and I really like that because society places too much emphasis on the serial killer, the man, and really romanticizing that, but we don't usually get to look into the victims or their families, what happens after, or how they're feeling in the moment. I really loved how this book brought all 3 of those sides together. It weaves the different lives into like one perfect story, and it counts down to his execution. So he's on death row, and we are recounting his life through these different perspectives and through the different time periods. I thoroughly loved reading this book. It moved me so much. I was like emotional reading some parts of it. And I think that's a really telling sign of a good writer. Like, it's so compelling. The book really hooks you in, and I don't know what it was, but it really did just consume me. I finished this in like 2 days, so I couldn't stop reading the book. It was incredible. Picking the mood up slightly, we have Let's Split Up. This is a YA book, and usually I don't love YA stories, but boy did this hook me. This is a mystery story that follows a group of teens who are in high school, and some of their classmates have been killed in this mansion, this abandoned mansion, and they go to explore and try and solve the case. This is one that is like Fear Street meets Scooby-Doo. It's such a creepy, mysterious read, but not boring. It is really fast-paced. The characters are actually enjoyable to read, which I find a lot of the time doesn't happen in YA for me. So reading Let's Split Up was definitely really good because their characters were actually kind of likable. It is such a fun book, and I think that if you're into like Scream or Scooby-Doo, like I said, or the Goosebumps, Fear Street stuff, then you'll really love this book. We have Hungerstone by Kat Dunn. This is again another recent read. This is a Carmilla retelling, but is sapphic, well, more sapphic than the original. Really loved it. So good. It explores like women's dark desires and what we would do for that hunger. Yeah, I didn't really like Carmilla as a story itself. I felt like it was like missing something, and I think Kat Dunn really takes it even further in her book Hungerstone. So yeah, I loved reading this. This is following Lenore's perspective as a woman who is married but doesn't have a great time at home. And so it's kind of unfolding from there where she meets Carmilla. I thought it was really good, and everybody needs to read it. The next book is one that I read, was one of my library holds, and that is The Castaways by Lucy Clarke. This is a book that was on my radar because I was trying to read more of Lucy Clarke's works. She has a whole backlist of books, and I'm slowly working my way through them, and The Castaways is a huge standout. It's probably my favourite book from her so far. It follows two sisters who are in Thailand, and there's a falling out, an argument one night before they're supposed to take a flight to another small island close by, and one of the sisters never makes it onto the flight, and then that flight ends up crashing and they are not found. So it's up to the other sister, who is not giving up. She is constantly fighting to get her sister back, find out what exactly happened, and it's following that mystery from there. This was incredible. Really loved reading the book. It was fast paced. It kept following different times and different perspectives, and yeah, the overall outcome was incredible as well. I know that they have made this into a TV show. I did try to watch it after I read the book, but I just couldn't connect with the TV adaptation. I think the book is such a better standout, and I think I would always recommend reading the book over watching the TV show. I think the book has a lot more in it. The next book is TheSeven by Robin Delphi. I was kindly sent this for a tandem read along back in February, and I fell in love with this book. This is so good. This is following our main character, Eve, who is working in like the court system in the UK. Basically this cult kind of bombed a theatre and it killed some people, and the 7 who are involved were put up on trial, and so Eve is working on that case, trying to find some more details to help the prosecution. I could picture this being a drama on ITV or something. It was really, really good. I really loved the writing style in here and how Eve was depicted throughout this story. This is the first book in a series for Eve. So I think in the next couple of books we'll be following her on different cases. So I really am looking forward to the next couple of books in this series, because I really loved following along with her. She's such a badass character. Like, she's got really strong feminine energy, and it really does come across in the book. So yeah, this was a really great read, and I think this was like one of my first 5 stars of the year. The other book I'm going to show you was my first 5-star. So yeah, this one was really good as well. And finally, the last book is of course going to be CJ Cook's book, which is The Book of Witching. If you know me by now, CJ Cook is one of my favourite authors of all time. I've read literally everything she's written. I've got 2 books left to catch up on, and then you'll see a author ranking video for her. This was published last year, and I managed to read it in January. I got my hands on a copy because I love everything witches, and this book is following 2 timelines. We are following, let me have a look, I don't really remember, 1594 in Orkney, and then 2024 in Glasgow. So Alison Balfour is accused of witchcraft in Orkney in 1594, and so the 2 women are connected in these timelines through the Book of Witching. In 2024, Clem's daughter is in the hospital with burns, and Clem then goes on this mystery hunt to find out what exactly happened to her daughter, what's going on. And then it's a whole mystery from there. You find out how these 2 women are connected and how Orkney Islands come into this. There's cult activities. There's a lot in this book. It is incredibly written. Yeah, The Book of Witching is a feminist gothic story that is heavily rooted in the witchcraft. I should probably do a whole video based on books like that, because I've read a ton and I could recommend a lot of books for you for that feminine rage sort of reads. But yeah, this is again another great read from CJ Cook, and I am so happy that I have this. I'm so looking forward to her new book that is coming out in October this year. But there you have it. Those are some of my favourite reads from 2025 so far. We'll see if these are included again in my end of year wrap up. But so far I've loved all of these books. There's been such incredible reads happening this year. I'm so happy with it. I have read around 70 books at this point. Let me know in the comments what your favourite book so far this year is. Maybe that's on my radar, maybe it's not, but let me know what your book is. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye!